突然ですが、明日の天気予報です。東京は午後3時過ぎから闇に包まれ、新宿方面では
So, before I begin this video, this is not my room. You can't tell. This is my other brother's room. I have three brothers, by the way. We tend to switch rooms, or I tend to go in the rooms and record whenever mine's super dirty. But yeah, if you can't tell, I mentioned earlier, we're going to be talking about Zankyo no Terror, which is actually one of MAPPA's first original works, and it actually had its 10th year anniversary this year. And this is one of those series I've heard, but I've actually never seen. I think this is a series most of you guys have actually heard about, but never really have seen. Apparently, it's quite popular in Japan, but for me, I've never actually heard of it, which is honestly pretty interesting, to be honest. Like, it's a really good show. And the thing about this show is it's one of those series that I can't really talk about too much about the plot without spoiling it because the beginning of the episode, like the first episode alone, sets the tone for the rest of what's going to come. So I'm going to be lightly treading waters like I do in some of my videos about certain series. Like, this is one series I really don't want to spoil you guys. I want you guys to actually go watch it and then give me your thoughts. I'll go and do spoilers whenever I do. But yeah, so Zankyo no Terror, essentially the plot revolves around two teenage boys who toy around with the Metropolitan Tokyo Police Force. They essentially become terrorists and enthrall Tokyo in a web of terrorism. They turn Tokyo into their little playground, and what their motivation behind this is, no one actually knows, but apparently they have usage of an atomic weapon. How these two boys actually came into contact with an atomic weapon is actually quite interesting, because at the beginning of the show, it shows you these two kids are breaking into a secret government facility, and they literally steal like an atomic weapon or plutonium, as it's implied. And yeah, that's pretty much all it's implied. That like the beginning of the episode, yeah, these kids stole something very important, most likely something atomic. We can infer it's like an atomic weapon of sorts. But granted, this show actually takes place in modern day Japan, and if you know anything about Japan, is that in its constitution, it's forbidden to have nuclear weapons. I believe it's allowed to have nuclear missiles there, but only on select U.S. bases. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I know in the new Japanese constitution, it's not allowed to have a formal standing military due to what happened in World War II. It's also not allowed to have nuclear weapons because of the trauma that happened in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. And actually that does play a big factor. Like, the atomic bombings actually do play a key factor into the series, which is really interesting, because the way that these kids commit their crimes is they're actually not hurting anyone. As you watch the episodes, you think you would be against these guys, but no, it actually shows these two kids in reality, they don't want to hurt anyone. They just want to send a message to the government that we know what you did to us, we know what happened, and we are going to get the truth. What that truth is I can't really spoil it, because it's such a big plot twist. And the ending of the series is one of those endings that's gonna leave you kind of speechless. I'm not gonna lie, it's one of those endings that is controversial for most people, because like the entire series is pretty much just like random things happening. Like, a lot of things do happen. It's so unexpected. There's so many twists and turns. It's really good. And essentially, I like to think of this series kind of like an amalgamation of Death Note, but without the supernatural elements. If Light Yagami was to become a terrorist instead of God Killer or something like that. This is pretty much what Death Note would be without all the superstition, without all the supernatural aspects of it, which makes this really interesting. It also reminds me a lot of Code Geass because of the mystery element, because of the things against the government. If you're interested like in government conspiracies, if you've ever wondered, would the government do this, would the government do something like that, of course they would. The government always lies to you. Doesn't matter what they say. The government is not your friend. They will always do stuff in their own interest. They will benefit their own interests, and they do not align with the interest of the people. To me, this is actually a great exploration of what it means to be anti-government and pro-government factions within this series, because in this show, like, it involves the US government, the FBI, the Japanese government, the Japanese Metropolitan Police, and these two kids who are just committing crimes for apparently no reason, but these kids are smarter than your average person, because if we're gonna be honest, there's no way two 17-year-olds are going to commit high-level explosions to tear down buildings that not even certified munitions experts in the field who have been doing this for 20 years would be able to do in like a know-how. It's really interesting. Like, yeah, I've seen some comments regarding like this series, like, oh, it advocates terrorism, oh, why would I side with criminals, blah blah blah. But when you get to the motivations behind these kids, why they're doing it, and their reasons, and the fact that they're actually not hurting anyone for the most part, yeah, they do leave casualties, but no one is actually killed. They're rather trying to send a message. And one of the main facts about this series is there's actually a detective. I forgot his name, so we're gonna call him Detective. The detective in this series, he's one of the more intelligent characters of the show. He's the one that plays along with the kids. He's trying to understand their message, and as he gets to the bottom of this message, he starts to see there's an entire web of lies that was created by the Japanese government as well as the US government, and as he tries to go deeper and deeper, people try to stop him from learning the truth. And these kids, as things are getting towards the end, they decide, you know what, screw it, we're gonna use an atomic bomb to send our message. That itself is really suspenseful. To me, this is a series that's very suspenseful. Like, a lot of things happen, unlike a lot of other series where it's like super action oriented. This is more like drama and thriller type of design. It is really good. I really love the characters 9 and 12. That's essentially what they go by, because when they were little, their names were pretty much erased from history and they just go by numbers. There's also another character introduced, Lisa. She's pretty much like the core aspect of this non-official group. She motivates these people to become more human rather than machine-like, and towards the end of the series, you ultimately feel for her because she's nothing special. She's just your average person. She's basically like, if you were thrown into this chaotic world of web and lights, what would you do? You would essentially be her. Lisa is pretty much the audience. They don't know what they're doing. They think they are the MC, but no, in reality they are not. But the one thing that they are is a core element and hopefulness of these two characters who don't feel human, but reinvigorates them to be more human, be more apathetic. And the detective there, he's playing along with their games, and as his mentality changes from, okay, these guys are terrorists, to like, holy shit, these guys, they're just afraid and hurt. I understand why they're doing their crimes, and I gotta help them one way or another. This series is really fantastic. For being a series that's like 10 years old, for a series that's only 11 episodes, I think it does something a lot of series struggle with sometimes, with 10 episodes or even 24 episodes. Like, it really captures like the elements of like conspiracy, what it means to be hopeless, what it means to not trust the government, because pretty much this is like an anti-government, this is pretty much an anti-war type of theme. Now, if this series was actually released today, it would cause a lot of controversy due to the like nature behind it, especially like given in today's political climate. I think this series is really important for what people are capable of doing. If you've seen the news about what's happening in America, you know, like, if you watch this series, it's super relevant to what is happening today with like government lies, government or corporations and stuff like that. It is super interesting, which is why to me Zankyo no Terror is one of those series I would honestly recommend people if you're trying to get them into anime, if you want them to get in like conspiracy stuff. This to me like is up there for like a 10 out of 10 series. It's up there with Steins Gate. It's up there with Code Geass because of the mystery element behind it. It is just so good. And I did my best not to talk about spoilers too much, like certain plot details, certain plot things of the characters. But yeah, that's just my thoughts on Zankyo no Terror. It's more like of an analysis of this series rather than me talking about this story. If you're interested, go watch it. It's 11 episodes. You can finish it in one night. And yeah, that's just my thoughts on Zankyo no Terror. Go watch it. It's really amazing. And yeah.